Hey guys, welcome back to my Football Manager 2019 experiment. This is the third and the final part of this experiment. So for you who haven't watched the first and second part, please do so, as you will want to know what has happened to the Malaysian national side. Moving on, 5 years ahead. So in the first year in 2028, we don't have any big competitions such as Confederation or World Cup or even Asian Cup, but we do have games like World Cup qualifying, and Malaysia once again managed to go through to the final stage of the qualifying. And then in November, once again, we we joined the Southeast Asian Championship and won the competition. So I think this is the championship number 4 in this series. Not much in 2028, but we're gonna have a look in the year 2029. So as we can see, we're still playing the World Cup qualifying, and I assume we will go through from that group stage. Before the Confederation Cup, we have friendly games against Romania, and yeah, we lost 1-0 to that game. In July, Malaysia went on to the Confederation Cup and win the first game against New Zealand. Vinicius Junior and Sandro Tonali scored the goals. In the second game, we lost against Portugal, the team that beat us in the final of the World Cup. So once again, Portugal flexed their muscle against Malaysia. In the other group stage game, the final game, we won against Colombia 2-0 before winning against Spain in the semi-final. In the final, unfortunately, we did not manage to win this competition and beaten by Italy 1-0. David Calabria scored the goal. Nevertheless, we continued our winning ways against Australia and Indonesia in the World Cup qualifying. So I guess this is the time that we sealed our qualification to the World Cup in the year 2030. And then at the end of the year, pretty much wrap up most of the games in friendly international games. So moving on in the year 2030, which means it is the World Cup. In the year 2030, we opened the game against England with a 3-1 loss before beating Ukraine 4-1. That is actually our warm-up for the World Cup. So in our first game in our third World Cup, we beat Jamaica 3-0, an own goal, Pietro Pellegrini and Sulaiman Jamaluddin, which is not our wonder kid, has scored in the World Cup. This is the first time non-wonder kid scored for our national team in the World Cup. Second game against Turkey, we drew 0-0 against Turkey again, and then we won against South Africa 3-0. Sulaiman Jamaluddin again with Vinicius Junior scoring a brace. Unfortunately, in the third round, Italy beat us again, and this time they scored 3 against us, and Peter Pellegrini scored actually an early goal before being dominated by Italy. So in this World Cup, we were eliminated in the third round. We have a couple of friendly fixtures during that year before winning again the Southeast Asian Championship or the AFF Suzuki Cup, where we scored every games and did not concede any goals during this tournament. I think our players has been improved a lot. The national team does not depend on the wonder kid in this competition, and they did a very good job in winning the competition. So as I can see, indirectly the wonder kids has improved the national team standard. So without the wonder kids, the other players will step up and carry on the standard, I believe. But yeah, we're just moving on to 2031. We we will play in Asian Cup. So again, in the Asian Cup, we faced Thailand 3-0. Galvik and Pietro Pellegrini, the one the kids scored, with Sheikh Safari. And then we won 4-0 against Brunei. Pietro Pellegrini scored all 4 goals before winning against South Korea 2-1. Yeah, we usually won the game against Korea around 1 goal different. And then against Saudi Arabia in the second round, we won 3-1 before winning 1-0 against Australia in the quarterfinal. In the semifinal, we played against South Korea again, 2-0, and advanced to the final where we beat China 5-0 with a goal from Pietro Pellegrini and Vinicius Jr. The Asian Cup was actually held in China, and we beat China in the final 5-0. It must be a very difficult experience for the Chinese team to lose the final at home with that margin. Nevertheless, after that, in June, another road to World Cup continues, and we beat off North Korea in the first game before a friendly draw against Bosnia and Herzegovina, and beating off Bangladesh, Bhutan, Tajikistan, and North Korea again, and beating Bangladesh again in the final game of the year. As we move to the final year, we scored 10 goals in 2 games before loss twice in June in friendly. I think this is our first time lost back to back, as I can remember. In September, we this is the final stage of Group B, so we advanced to the final stage in the World Cup qualifying, and we won against China, Qatar, Indonesia, UAE, and then we drew again against China, this time at home. And wrapping up the year, our national team, without the Wonder Kids, has done brilliantly again by winning the Southeast Asian Championship. I think this time, for the fifth or the sixth year. Let me see. So since we took over, we have won 6 times already in this competition. So for overall, Malaysia has won the competition for the 7th time. So now we hold the most times winner. So for the national side, we still have the players, the 11 Wonder Kids left from the second part. So, which means this is still a good news. We still have Alban Lofon, who is now still playing at Fiorentina, and he's currently 34 years old. So, this bunch of players will retire anytime soon, such as Filip. He will retire on the 20th of November 2033. He's currently without the club and he's 35 years old. So I think he's the first player who has shown intention to retire from football. Eder Militao has now played for Tottenham Hotspur, while Sandro Tonali has moved back to Italy and now playing for Inter Milan. Diego Dalot still in Paris Saint-Germain, is 33. Gianluca Iter now playing in France with Olympique Marseille. Houssam Aouar still playing for Arsenal. Ezequiel Palacios now plays for Saint Etienne. Leon Bailey is moved to Hertha Berlin. He's 35 years old now and he's only worth 300,000. Remember, he was like 75 million worth. Vinicius Junior still playing for Borussia Dortmund. He's 32. Maybe he has like 2 or 3 years left, and hopefully he still wants to play for the national team. He's still quite expensive with 20 million, but our most expensive player is Pietro Pellegrini. He's 32 years old and he still plays for Real Betis. So basically these players will retire in 2 to 3 seasons, but I think I want to move to another 5 years to see what will happen to the national team when these players are gone, just out of curiosity. But I won't do that now because I want to see the current ranking of the Malaysian national side. As you can see, the Malaysian national side is 7, so I believe the highest they ever achieved was 5. So they did manage to break into the top 5 best team in the world, which is very very great. And at the moment, with the aging team, they're still currently in top 10, 7, and still I think for me it's a very very good squad. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna forward this to another 5 years, and I believe all 11 of our original Wonder Kids will retire, and we're just gonna see what legacy they will leave behind. So, jumping to 2023, we have several World Cup qualifying games and won all of them here before playing in the Confederation Cup. As you can see, we drew against New Zealand and then lost against Chile and then another loss against Spain. So this is our worst Confederation Cup in this experiment. So this show that our team has already aging and run out of steam, I guess. So we were eliminated in the group stage, but then we come back with a win against Saudi and UAE in the World Cup qualifying game. So I believe we have the chance to play again in the World Cup. But later that year we were winless in 4 games, so it is a worrying sign for our team. In 2024, as usual, World Cup warm up before the World Cup. We managed to win against Algeria in Group I. Vinicius Junior is our hero again in the World Cup with that last minute goal, I guess. Well, that is surely a golden goal. And then Vinicius Junior again scored against Bosnia and Herzegovina to win the group. In the second round, we beat fellow AFC team Australia 3-2, so we still show our flex against another Asian team. But then in the third round, again, Spain, who beat us last season in the Confederation Cup, beat us again here in the World Cup. So tough luck. We won't we won't follow the footsteps that we did a few years back, where we went to the final of the World Cup. So this will be our second last World Cup, because in the year 2038 we will be playing in another World Cup. That will be the last World Cup in this experiment. So as you can see, we lost a lot of friendlies here before winning against South Africa. And as usual in Southeast Asian Championship, we won the group, and then we won the semi-final with a 7-0 aggregate, followed by the winning final, also 7-0 aggregate. In this competition, we did not concede any single goals. So Malaysia is still very strong in the Southeast Asian Championship. So in 2025, we started off with the Asian Cup. So with the first game, we drew against Japan. Petro Pellegrini scored twice before Kenshiro Yuzawa scored in the 77th minute. And then we beat Australia 2-1. Vinicius Junior and Sheikh Safari again scored in this competition. The final game of the group, we beat Pakistan 3-0. Sheikh Safari scored twice before Petri Pellegrini scored the third goal. Vinicius Junior is sent off in the 25th minute of this game. And then we qualified to the second round, where we beat Syria 2-0. Sheikh Safari again, and Sandro Tonali scored in the 75th minute. And then in the quarterfinal, we lost against South Korea in the extra time. So it was in the 112th minute. Tough luck for our team, but in the end, in this season 2035, South Korea won this competition. And then after the Asian Cup, we have several friendlies and another World Cup qualifying. We won most of them and drew the final game of the year against Wales 1-1. In the year 2036, there's not much happening until the Southeast Asian Championship again, that we won it again. So we won all game except in the final, where we drew 2-2 with Indonesia, and then in the second leg we scored 4 goals to ourselves to beat Indonesia 6-2 on aggregate. In the year 2037, there's not much going on, as we did not win the AFC Nation Cup, so we did not participate in the Confederation Cup for the first time in a while. So I think first time in 12 years. But we did manage to win several games, such as against India and UAE in the World Cup qualifying. And then closing off on that year, we lost 3 games and drew against New Zealand, so there's a 4-game winless streak going on there. So with this current squad, doesn't look good in the World Cup in the year 2038. So as you can see, we already lost the first game against Argentina, lost against Nigeria before winning against China. And in this World Cup, I think this is the worst World Cup so far in our experiment. So without the wonderkids, we lost 2-0 against Austria before drawing against Ivory Coast 0-0. We did not secure any victories for the first time in our World Cup experience. we did not score in this competition either. So this has shown the decline of the Malaysian team without the Wonder Kids. And then as you can see here, we have lost 4 competitive friendly games, and all of it was at home. So there's a lot of things to be fixed in this national team. But again, in Southeast Asian Championship, we were really untouchable. Again, the whole season, almost the whole season, we did not concede until in the final. We drew against Indonesia, again away. Same as last competition, we drew 2-2 there, and then we secured the victory in Malaysia 2-1. There's 3 goals in the 20th minute, 24th, 25th, and 29th. So 3 goals in 10 minutes. It's a very tense battle during that moment. So in Southeast Asian Championship, we have already won 8 times in a row. And then in this competition, in this experiment alone, we have won it 9 out of 10 times. So Malaysia has dominated this since 2018 until 2038. So 20 years domination is great in this competition. For overall, Malaysia has won this competition for 10 times. So if, let's say, I continue for another 10 or 20 years, I believe Malaysia would won 8 or 9 over 10 competition. So coming back, this will be the final year in our experiment in 2039. The reason that I stretch it over to 2039 is because that will be the last competition that we will look into, which is the Asian Cup. We have the World Cup in 2038, and it's already gets tougher for the Malaysian national side. So we just want to see whether we can do a good fight against other Asian teams. So let's have a look. So we did won the first game against Singapore, and then drew against Oman and Iran, both 1-1. So with that, we qualified to the second round by beating Vietnam 2-0. So as we can see here, we are only winning against Southeast Asian team, but we can't win against another Asian team such as Oman and Iran. And then in the quarterfinal, again South Korea beat us, eliminate us from the competition. So when we look from the Asian Cup, this season was won by China. Runner-up was South Korea that beat us in the quarterfinal. They also won the competition 4 years ago. The same team that eliminated Malaysia from the competition. So overall in this competition, we won the game from 2023 to 2031. That 8 long years was a very sweet moment for the team. So I can't see a repetition for this. So in the World Cup in the year 2026 means a lot for the Malaysian team. Although they did not win the World Cup, they managed to become the runner-up and yeah, put their name in the history. As of the current ranking, Malaysia has now dropped to 27. We enjoyed as high as 5th when we were on our peak, but now, as you can see from the graph, after enjoying a long decade of success, this team has dropped down, and now fall to as low as 27th. But at this moment, as I can see, Malaysia is still the best Asian team in the year 2029. The closest is Australia at 32nd. So, despite we're losing already our wonder kids, the golden generation, or we can call them the legends, we are still the best team in Asia, and well, that is in terms of ranking. But this is the time where I can predict we can keep on going down of the rankings. But nevertheless, that was a very good experiment, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll try something new again in the future. So for now, thank you very much. Bye bye.